Hi there, and welcome to Astrology with Jo. Thank you so much for being here with me, tuning into my astrological works. Your presence and support does mean everything, and I never take it for granted because it fuels my passion, my work, and my craft. So, this is all for you. Today, we're discussing the final portion of Virgo season. We're covering about the 13th till the 22nd of September today, ending on a very powerful new moon solar eclipse in Virgo, which is going to reverse the entire lunar cycle for over a year. I'll touch more on that in the end and make a whole nother video for you on that new moon solar eclipse. But it is important to know that at this time we are in the eclipse window. We had that spectacular full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces back on the 8th of September, concluding with this new moon on the 22nd. Now, this is a 2-week period of time, but the effect of these eclipses really does linger a lot longer. I would give it at least 1 week before the first eclipse and 1 week after the second eclipse. And all of the eclipses are linked. So if you actually look back to March this year, March 2025, you can see what has been unfolding for you that is linked back to that month. Conversely, you can then project into the next set of eclipses that we will have in March and August next year when we'll be finishing up this nodal cycle with the nodes in Pisces and Virgo. And this is where astrology becomes really useful in being able to look at the timing of things. Now, this period of time here is still vibrant with that nodal energy of the eclipses, and it will take a week or two, even into October, for that energy to really settle and for it to truly begin to be integrated in your life, or for you to be even moving past it in your life. So give yourself that period of grace because these eclipses are very intense. So let's get into these transits before I get too sidetracked on the eclipses. We're going to begin with the 14th of September. Vesta entered Sagittarius. Now, obviously, we've come off the back of that powerful full moon eclipse back on the 8th of September, and these energies are still lingering because these Virgo planetary interactions that were part of that eclipse are still ongoing. Now, Vesta is giving us something a little bit different, which is kind of refreshing, and she is entering Sagittarius. Now, this has been a long time in the making because of her retrograde in Scorpio, same as asteroid Juno, who will enter Sagittarius in a few weeks. So this is a lightening of the energy because if you remember, Black Moon Lilith, who has been playing around with that Vesta in Juno in Scorpio for a very long time, finalized her very last conjunction to both of these asteroids at the beginning of Virgo season. So we not only have this bright entry into Sagittarius from deep brooding Scorpio, but we also have this added sense of liberation with those inner demons, ghosts, shadows that Black Moon Lilith was bringing up for you, no longer in play. Vesta, as the keeper of the sacred hearth, the holy fire, the goddess of tending to the sacred, the protector of the priestess, she has quite a strong link to Virgo energy, which is that of the earthly priestess integrating the sacred divine energies of the goddess onto earth into daily life. Now, Vesta in the sign of the Archer, Sagittarius, the one who aims aspirations, who wants to explore, expand, seek, gain wisdom and experience, and most of all, who wants to discover the higher meaning of it all. Gotta love Sag. She's now traveling in the realms of the adventurer, and she's aiming your dedication towards exploration, wisdom, and seeking. And with Vesta here, that higher meaning of your life is sacred. Vesta brings this sense of sacredness to the ritual and routine of your life. It's time to tend to your higher learning in your daily life, whether this is around anything around spirituality, religion, philosophy, language, law, esoteric subjects like astrology, hint, hint. So it's the growth and the expansion of also ideals and perspective. That's what Sag is all about. And the growth that we can develop with Vesta is around how to make your progression, your ascension, forward momentum, etc., part of your day, bringing it to earth. And it's also about making the excitement and the hope and the positivity of your growing wisdom in whatever way or whatever field this is for you. It's about making that ebullient sense of eagerness or exhilaration, part of your daily devotions, if you will. Now, this is a strong energy for dedicating yourself to travel, whether this is the mind traveling and learning or physical travel itself. This is about dedicating and tending to your wisdom or knowledge, even via study. This brings also law and philosophy and ideals more into focus and what that means to you. So, of course, as well, by being on this 0 degree, she's lighting up all these outer planets again. She's just trying Saturn retrograde in Pisces on her way out of Scorpio. So there's a very supportive, loving, spiritual structure beneath her when she enters Sagittarius to directly then try Neptune retrograde in Aries, which is an even more supportive, enhancing force behind this dedication to whatever this is for you, spirituality or energy or wisdom, travel, study, whatever. Neptune in Aries is giving some very blissful, inspirational input here into anything from your imagination or psyche that you want to devote yourself to, both exploring and also bringing into your life and honoring in more tangible ways. She then, of course, directly opposes Uranus and Sedna, both retrograde in Gemini. Therefore, we may be having some very unexpected turnovers or makeovers in terms of what we believe in, what your ideals and personal philosophies are, and how this shows up in your life. This could very much entail an entire transmutation of what you choose to dedicate yourself to based on what you believe or your belief systems, your ideals, and based on how that has now changed. This could be an awakening around what your belief systems are, what your ideals are, what your underlying life philosophies are, which could be shocking to you. This could be a revelation around how much energy you've been expending on these belief systems that you didn't realize before. And there is a kind of a realization here that you can open yourself up to. It could be a rude awakening because this opposition is not a gentle energy. It could also be a huge turning point in terms of where your life trajectory is heading, what your aspirations are, what you want to explore, and how you want to advance based on a strong, authentic, true sense of self-belief. And Vesta is only in Sag until the 15th of November this year, before moving on to more concrete, serious Capricorn. So enjoy the energy of Vesta in Sagittarius. This is highly spiritual in a very warm, enthusiastic way, and I encourage you to make the most of it and work with the incoming revelations and wisdom coming in, because you will find that your connection to divine, or whatever divine means to you, will be enhanced by following the lessons and directives given to you by this seemingly deceptively simple asteroid transit. Now, having just touched on Black Moon Lilith finishing up cycles, we have another ending here with the very final opposition of Black Moon Lilith in Libra to Eris retrograde in Aries, who is also conjunct Chiron retrograde as well. This has been going on for about a year now, and the final pass between these troublemakers will occur on the 16th of September. This is a very goddessy day. I'm going to touch more on the Venus transits which occur on this day in a second as well, but this is a goddessy day because Lilith is making another aspect, which is a conjunction to Mars, on the same day that she makes her final pass to Eris retrograde. Now, I spoke about that Mars ongoing transit in my last forecast. It's almost like there is a shifting away from Lilith, provoking the shadows or wounds in the divine yin, with her moving away from and finishing up from her transits with the goddesses, as I mentioned before, Vesta and Juno already, and now Eris. Now Black Moon Lilith is zoning in on the divine yang, the masculine, even the patriarchy, because she has moved away from these feminine points and has now just begun working on the epitome of the masculine, Mars. So by making this very final opposition to the female counterpart of Mars, which is that Eris, whilst only in her second conjunction to Mars, Lilith is making you very aware of something. I'm just getting there's something very angry or pent up Now, Mars himself has just made this opposition to his divine sister Eris and will perfect the opposition to Chiron the day after on the 17th of September. Now Lilith is in the mix too, stirring up identity wounds with Chiron in the process. Anatomizing this, Mars actually rules this Chiron Eris in Aries. So Mars does have some authority or backup in this jumble, even if he does know that Eris is just that tiny bit bigger and scarier. So even if you know that there is something wild or untamable, something maybe too vast to try and come to the table with, something too confronting, and even if, because Mars in Libra doesn't function in his characteristic way here in Libra, all guns blazing, this Mars is unarmed and has to use assertive tact and make peacemaking moves. I mean, he's now facing down his big sister or his feminine counterpart, whichever text or myth you want to go by. We're being confronted with anger, rage, and the inequity and disharmony that fuels this anger. But even so, the authority here is peace, because Mars rules these Aries planets, Eris and Chiron. Okay, and because Mars is in Libra, peace is what is the authority here. And Libra gives grace, and grace is not to be underestimated. Remember that Libra is a cardinal sign, an initiating sign. So contrary to appearance, Libra does actually have a fairly strong spine and a strong sense of justice. And here it's important because Libra brings objectivity. Libra is an air sign and can give solutions. Now, Black Moon Lilith is in Libra as well, coming up to Mars in this conjunction, taking him by the hand, and she's saying to Mars, this is what has been awoken. This is what you must now address. Let me show you the shadows that are underneath all of this chaos with Eris and pain, Chiron, because we have to work this out. They're in Libra. Personally, this could be coming up for you as anger, whether in yourself and others. This may be injustices arising. This may be wrongs that you feel a compulsion to right. There is trouble and chaos here because that is what Eris represents. There may be something that really hurts here because Chiron represents what needs healing, what needs accepting, and usually that is a tender spot, a quote-unquote wound. Chiron also grants wisdom and even spirituality through the processing of this pain as well. So we're given the unique opportunity to accept this chaos or pain or both and redress it, because that is what Libra does. This is the Libra influence of Lilith here as well, who represents what is within you that wants to be acknowledged as sovereign and powerful with rights and with dignity that has been repressed or shamed. Now, both Lilith and Eris in this opposition here, they both have similar archetypes, both symbolize the unrepresented feminine or yin, or what has just been violated and or ignored. Black Moon Lilith just brings in a more demonic or haunting energy, like even a persecution. This is where scapegoats come in. And Eris just pushes the buttons to show you what is being repressed and what is in disharmony. So this is a confronting time, 16th to 17th of September. There may be a sense of impotency that comes up for you with this Mars-Chiron opposition, a sense that there is nothing you can do to balance the scales. There's an overwhelming sense of volcanic energy coming to the surface, which you may also feel an instinct to repress with that Libra influence, just wanting to keep the peace, or the conflict may be internalized to keep it from bubbling over into relationships or external circumstances. However, this is not going to work because Eris is here and she points out the elephant in the room, and she does not have grace or tact in doing so. Through this, a sense of fierce activism, a passion to fight for what is right, finding your courage, finding your sense of potency. And there is a strong element of self versus other here because Aries is self and Libra is other. Relationships could be moving through some turbulence. Partnerships of any kind could be undergoing some turmoil. The saving grace in this situation is the fact that, well, Venus is ruling Mars and Lilith. And she is also directly connected to this aspect on this very day. So she's helping us here. She's trining from Leo, this Chiron Eris retrograde conjunction in Aries. And so it all comes together. Venus is connecting this opposition between the Lilith Mars conjunction and the Eris Chiron conjunction to a Venus fire grand trine. So Venus, the force of love, abundance, and in Leo, it's the fiery passions of the heart, is saying to Mars in Libra, to Lilith in Libra, and because of her trine to the Eris-Chiron conjunction, she's also saying to Eris and to Chiron, mediate with your heart and do not, under any circumstances, compromise your heart. Sometimes Black Moon Lilith is about saying no, no matter what effect it has on others or the other, because if that is the answer that is right for you, that is then the right thing to do, come what may. Venus in Leo supports this, and it doesn't have to be a no. It can just be a drawing of a line in the sand. It could be a yes. It could be anything. It could be whatever the right thing to do for you is that could be stirring up trouble for others that is not your responsibility. So having self-respect, having sovereignty over your own body, heart, identity, and choices. This is what could even be whipping up the chaos. Venus in Leo does not compromise when it comes to your joy, your inner fire, your creative essence, your right to worth and abundance. Venus in Leo is telling you to put yourself first. Mars and Lilith in Libra in their conjunction here may be bringing up for you where you have shadows that create a reluctance to do this. This could be through fear, whether real or valid or imagined, physical fear or fear of judgment. And we have this Venus grand trine here in the background really supporting you in following your passion because that is the right thing to do. Now, this Venus grand trine, we have Venus in Leo at 26 degrees, trining this Chiron Eris conjunction in Aries at 25, 26 degrees. In Aries, these are also trining the galactic center in Sagittarius at around 27 degrees. I'm bringing this in because it's really fueling this energy here. Now, if you remember from previous forecasts, this is one of the multiple grand trines that Venus is making. We had one with the goddesses Vesta and Juno with the North Node. We had one at the beginning of Virgo season with Australia and the Saturn-Neptune conjunction. Now we have another, and it is not going to end here. She's going to be making more as well down the line. So it's like Venus is really, really, really trying to feed us love and abundance in any and all forms it takes, because grand trines are supportive, flowing energies. So both your relationships and your financial situation is likely to be moving through some flowing upgrades, or it could be in a harmonizing process, just depending on how these Venus transits are affecting your own birth chart. Now here, with the connection to the big boy, the galactic center, the gravitational point that our galaxy revolves around, we're being pointed towards the higher meaning in Sagittarius behind everything that's going on. We're being pointed towards expanding your heart with Venus, your wisdom with Chiron, your harmony with Eris. This opposition between the Chiron-Eris conjunction and the Mars-Lilith conjunction, it's showing you what needs harmonizing and what side of the scale needs tipping by perhaps giving you a broader perspective. That's what Sagittarius can bring. So for you, it could be the side of the scales that needs more peace and objectivity, a balancing out, a more awareness of others, sort of redressing the balance towards fairness, justice, and objectivity. Or it could be on the other side of the scales. This balancing could be tipping the scales for more autonomy, more independence, sense of will, fire, and identity. Do you know what? It could be both. Libra's catchphrase is, ¿por qué no los dos? These things are not mutually exclusive, but if one does not support the other, there needs to be a cutting away with Mars and a drawing of the line with Lilith. And this Venus grand trine in the background is a lovely energy to settle yourself into if you do feel in strife. An outlet to any frustration could be to tap into your creativity or to go and explore something physically or metaphysically. Anything that makes you conscious of your connection to your heart and your connection to source with the galactic center, whatever source means to you. Allowing that to be a guiding light at this time. Now, this period of time, again, this is 16th and 17th of September, and I did not expect to talk about that for so long. So let's move on to a completely different topic with this short attention span, Mercury. Now, Mercury is entering Libra on the 18th of September. So, of course, what does he do? Yes, he lights up all of the outer planets. Again, good guess. Do I sound like a broken record? Get used to it. These outer planets are here for a while. Mercury opposes Saturn retrograde in Pisces at 28 degrees before he enters Libra on the 18th of September. So this could be a brain block, brain fog, misunderstandings or miscommunications. This is speaking or communicating more harshly than you intended or missing the point of a communication entirely. There could be communication around the authorities or at work, which comes through that isn't quite pleasant. This is where we need to be deliberate with Saturn about what and how we say things. Now, the Sun mimics this opposition on the 21st of September, just before it enters Libra on the 23rd, because that Sun and Mercury have been traveling quite close since that lunar eclipse that we had. So something about the analytical ego self, the way we distill and discriminate things, information, against your sense of self and place, it's kind of coming into question with Saturn. This is sort of warming us up for the coming new moon solar eclipse. That's going to be on the 22nd of September, because that lunation is going to be opposing Saturn as well. Okay. So there could be a foreshadowing here at this time on the 18th of September of what may be potentially coming up for you at that solar eclipse on the 22nd. So this is around any Saturn issues that you need to deal with. So Saturn is taking its last steps in Pisces before leaving for good and entering Aries next year. Mercury here opposing Saturn. It's requiring a check-in on the details of what you're working on or working towards. And the Sun coming through here is also it's shining a light onto the aspects of yourself in your life that you may feel are limiting or that you feel are not good enough, like you can't do enough or be enough. Saturn is a hard marker. And with oppositions, we have to be mindful that we aren't getting too hypercritical, or, because he's in Pisces as well, too idealistic about what we think the results should be. So onto Mercury in Libra. Once he passes Saturn and enters Libra, he triggers more outer planets. But before I get onto those transits, a bit about Mercury in Libra. He does really well here because he brings that Libra grace and good form to the way that you present, speak, communicate, and even behave with others. There's a natural knack for people being social graces and norms, and generally this is a good time for communicating in partnerships with others, in relationships, except remember that glamour free of outer planets that we have to deal with first. So after that Saturn opposition, we come to the 19th of September. We have a Neptune opposition, which throws all specifics into a muddle. This is real misdirection, missed confusion in what he said or she said or they said. Is it true? Is it not true? Was it a mistake? Was it deliberate? We got the brain block with Saturn, and then we have the brain fog with Neptune. So try not to force your brain or your mouth to work too hard to come to any conclusive decisions or answers around this time of Mercury's ingress into Libra. So this is between, let's say, between 18th, 19th, 20th. By the 21st, maybe you can start speaking a bit more freely about things again. So obviously we can't all stop our lives for Mercury transit. So obviously if you do need to take initiative and send something or say something or make a decision, just be mindful that there may be follow-throughs from that, which could need further addressing at some stage of the process. Now, what happens though is that Mercury is in an air grand trine with the Uranus-Sedna retrograde conjunction in Gemini and with Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. Now, Mercury himself is conjunct the great attractor, which is around 1 to 2 degrees of Libra. And I've mentioned this before. It's the supermassive black hole where voracity is unrivaled. It will suck you in or it will wake you up to any voracious appetites that you have within you. And this is all around Libra things. Now, it's interesting with Mercury in Libra. This conjunction to the great attractor could manifest as the mindset of needing a connection, needing a partner or relationship, or feeling incomplete or not whole because you don't have this, needing people, needing others. This could also manifest as the mindset of having a voracious appetite for justice, equality, and fairness. This could be the communication and sharing of any type of activism. It's the second time that word's come up for me. So maybe we'll see protesting in some kind of way on the world stage. Now, obviously, the connection to both Uranus and Pluto, there's going to be a flow for freedom here because Pluto is in Aquarius and Uranus rules Aquarius. It's all about liberation and awakening. And this is potentially freedom through change, transmutation, transformation, breakdown, and regeneration. And this is an evolutionary energy, may just be playing in the background as it has been for some time, but now Mercury is bringing it into your day-to-day and probably into your relationship. So this could also come into your life as changes or additions to relationships as well. This is meeting people, meeting partners in all senses of the words, connecting with people in your day-to-day who become significant people in your life. Now, this is all trines. It's generally favorable, generally harmonious. Pluto, Uranus, Sedna, and the great attractor are not usually necessarily harmonious energies by transit. So we will see how this plays out. Don't force the communications. Allow your sense of what the right thing to say will be rather than trying to force it or try to do or say the right thing, because the chances are with this opposition to Neptune, things aren't going to be clear, but we do have that grand trine in the background that is helping you move your communication in a way that it is powerful and it is also authentic. And I think trying not to force these things with the outer planet involvement here is the best thing that you can do in terms of speaking to people and making choices. And one of the other good things to do is just to remain conscious and mindful of your present moment as you possibly can. Now, again, Venus is ruling this Mercury now, okay? She will be anaretic on the final degree of Leo at the time of Mercury's ingress. So she will be extra, extra Leo, if that's even possible. If you're a Leo, you get it. So remaining heart-centered is key, okay? Knowing Mercury, what is your heart? What are your desires and not another's, not other people's projections, okay? And other people's projections may come more into play here or at least be more prominent or powerful. So be mindful of how you're projecting your issues and how others may be projecting theirs. Again, remaining attuned to your own inner fire, your own personal sense of self-worth, your values and your will. That is what's going to hold you strong here. And then that Venus, which is the ruler of this Mercury, also changes signs to, you guessed it, push the buttons on all of these outer planets again. So Venus enters Virgo on the 19th of September, just after this Mercury perfects its connections to those outer planets. Now, Venus in Virgo is the divine feminine in the sign of the priestess. So this is the princess getting out of her fancy carriage to do her ordained duties. And now that airy Mercury is in Libra, it's answering to an earthly pragmatic boss. But contrary-wise, this Venus in Virgo is now answering to a very fair, logical mind with her ruler in Libra. These two, Mercury and Venus, are in mutual reception. They are now in each other's signs. So even though they are interacting with these bigger, more difficult lessons with the outer planets, they're really supporting each other here through these lessons. So the balanced mind of Mercury in Libra is your friend, when moving through any effort required in moving through these issues, which could be around your finances, self-worth, and relationships with that Venus in Virgo. Now, traditionally, Venus is in the sign of her fall in Virgo. Now, broadly, this does not mean that you're going to struggle in your love life or financially. It just means that, well, firstly, she's a lot quieter than she was when she was in Leo, less heart on sleeve and more heart work. If Venus in Leo is the beauty of the radiant sunflower, then Venus in Virgo is the one to get her hands dirty and dig up the soil, make the garden bed, water and tend to the plant, put the stake in for the flower to lean on. This is essentially putting in the necessary effort required to create something beautiful and divine. Heart matters and love become something to work on, to make well, to improve, to make better. There's a practicality to romance with Venus in Virgo, and there's also a sense of needing to toil and serve to make your own abundance. And this is often a labor of love, something you desire to work on. So there is some more specificity and realism to matters within relationships and finance. There's a necessity to do something, make something, mend something. And relationships and abundance come under a critical, analytical, discerning eye with Venus in Virgo. This is a good opportunity to work out where things maybe are a little too idealistic, where things aren't really functional, not working well. I mean, Venus in Virgo can kind of pop the romantic, idealistic bubble when it comes to love or your money, saying, well, how does this actually work in your real life for you? How is this panning out? So this is about working practically for love, working for harmony, working for your abundance, beauty, and paradoxically, working for ease. Now, these outer planets, wakey, wakey again. Venus is in this position of the quincunx with both the Saturn-Neptune conjunction and Pluto at the base of a yod, as has already been the Sun and Mercury and the new moon back on the 23rd of August. So this is something we're all very familiar with by now, given that this has been a repeating pattern this Virgo season. These Virgo planets have been put through this uncomfortable position time and again, and here we have another one. So this is where any transformations of the heart, any dreams of love or abundance which you may be hoping to or have already put into action, where any liberation from old paradigms is seeping into either your love life and relationships and or your self-worth, your abundance, money and finance in a very tangible way. So there's a discomfort here with the quincunxes, probably around not knowing the details, with Neptune involved with Saturn, who's in misty Pisces. By the way, Saturn is in an out of sign quincunx here, but he's definitely in orb. You may have to do some problem solving around these Venus themes amongst the shifting sands, and luckily Virgo is more than up to the task. And Venus's ruler Mercury is in mutual reception with her and is also beset by some outer planets. So they're in similar circumstances, but Mercury, remember, is very supported in that outer planet grand trine. So there could be some creative thinking and ideas that come through in this time of unease and uncertainty, or even insecurity, because Venus, especially in the earth signs, is all about stability and security. There's definitely a sense of needing to try something to improve the unease that you're feeling. I mean, Virgo wants to improve, make better, and there's a challenge here that potentially doesn't have a solid solution. Rather, the trick may be to do what you would least expect, and this is because Venus is also squaring that Uranus-Sedna conjunction in Gemini. This is unexpected things coming in, suddenly feeling submerged with Sedna in some way. This could also be a zap out of any current impasse with the yod that we have here, which remember is representing something irreconcilable that just needs to be moved through somehow. And the discomfort may also be around accepting that some things don't have a solution. Some things can't be mended or improved. Some things maybe don't even need fixing. Maybe your idealism or your idea of what something should look like actually isn't a viable reality, and accepting that not everything needs to be fixed, that not everything has to be optimum all the time. That may be where the discomfort is here with this yod, and there's an acceptance of reality required with the Saturn-Neptune conjunction. And there's also a requirement to end and transform those toxic paradigms that your mind may be swirling in with that Pluto in Aquarius. Remember, this is around your finances, your self-worth, and your love life and relationships. So just getting back to that Uranus square again to Venus. So this could be the impetus to do something differently with your money or with your love life and relationships. Now, I would never give you financial advice because that is very low down on my list of specialties. But just be aware that something may change or something unexpected is likely to manifest here, especially if this is working with your chart personally. I mean, even if this is about having to make a decision around money that you weren't expecting to come up, okay? Because Uranus is in the sign of choices, which is Gemini. So there may be some kind of a choosing required here around this time. Just maintaining that awareness that Virgo can become overcritical in its attempt to make something optimal, in trying to bring to earth something good, something that works, something impeccable. So adjust your judgments, adjust your expectations around this time. Ground your heart. Try not to let your mind go into overdrive here. Lean into this mutual reception of Mercury in Libra to Venus in Virgo and focus on maintaining some sense of homeostasis of the mind with objectivity and with clarity. Now, the other player at this time is actually another square that we have from Venus to that Vesta in Sagittarius. Remember, she just entered Sag. This will perfect on the 23rd of September, just before Virgo season ends and the sun exits this sign. And I don't actually have that transit on the screen. So this square to Vesta is making a T-square because it means that this Vesta is opposing the Uranus-Sedna conjunction. So this is a mutable T-square with Venus at the apex. So this means that things are shifting, changing, morphing into something else, particularly around those Venus themes. Now, she's at the apex of two configurations here, a T-square and a yod. So this period of time, as Venus enters Virgo from the 19th of September, I would expect there to be some sense of unease and discomfort around your finances, around your self-worth and abundance, but also around and within your relationships and how you relate to people as well. And look, with this Vesta in Sagittarius here, it's a reminder that whatever things you are moving through and liberating yourself from, there is a need to know what your belief systems are. There's a need to be dedicated to those belief systems if you know they are right for you, and they themselves could be shifting because of this opposition to Uranus, okay? This is also indicating a time to be very discerning around how your personal values with Venus are being affected by these times as well. This is a realignment of your values with your beliefs. Okay, I'll say that again. This is a realignment of your values with your beliefs. These are two very different separate things which heavily influence and inform one another. And this is a very big readjustment process that we're moving through here. Uranus could be breaking you out of any fixated with Vesta beliefs with Sagittarius. Uranus may also be liberating you from any borderlines that you have around your heart, around your own self-worth and values, what you value and cherish, what you discern as being yours and not yours with Virgo. And this could involve confusion. This could involve things being up in the air. The grounding point, ironically enough, is the Pisces corner of this T-square, the unrepresented sign here in this triplicity with the T-square that we have. This is about letting go This is about accepting, flowing with what is rather than trying to contain it. I'm just getting somebody trying to cup flowing water through their hands and it just isn't working. And this acceptance, of course, is easier said than done. But beginning with self-acceptance and self-compassion is something to soothe these very gritty, sandy, windswept times. And it's a balm here to something that is perhaps quite anxiety inducing. So just remember that whatever you're going through, have patience and understanding for yourself. Remember that you are always, always supported through this journey by your own soul, by your inner and higher self, and by source, spirit, cosmos, deity, whatever that looks like for you. So again, relationships and self-worth and finance are a focal point during this time, and especially because of that Mars Lilith in Libra as well, with the Venus interacting with their interactions with Eris opposing those Libra points. It's very relationshipy here with those Libra points and with Venus. Okay. So don't expect anything too concrete to be coming through here because it's a very evolutionary influence here with the outer planets, okay? We're in a metamorphosis. It's also important as well to don't put too much stock into everything that you hear and understand from others, because others are also likely to be moving through their own shifts and changes as well. Maybe they don't know what is real and what isn't, what matters now and what doesn't, just as much as you are trying to work this out as well. Now, I've already been talking for a long time. I'm not going to spend too much time on the new moon solar eclipse because I'll be making a whole nother video for you about that. But just suffice to say that even though it is a new moon, eclipses aren't necessarily auspicious time to begin things. Intention setting, yes. Paradigm changing intentions, yes. Putting something into motion around the eclipses based on eclipse energy will, based on irrefutable evidence from multiple astrologers, including myself, back all the way to before Common Era times, putting something into motion around the eclipses based on eclipse energy will ultimately result in something that you did not intend as part of your intentions. Something that you would never have thought of coming into being will come into being. Something you never thought would happen will happen. Okay, so and the energy work that you do at eclipses will ultimately filter into your everyday reality, of course. And the energy work at the eclipse is going to spiral into whatever intention you set here. Okay. And it will be something different, something disruptive, something you don't necessarily plan for. That's the point of eclipses. They shake things up and propel you towards different doorways that you've probably never even considered being open to you before. This is about setting in your mind, setting in your heart, setting in your frequency what you want to shift, okay? And get started from the launch point of this new moon, but maybe not launching it quite yet, waiting for that eclipse energy to pass before making any concrete steps. This will be around those Virgo themes of your health, okay? Physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, energetic health on all levels, okay? This is also about your work, your skill, your craft, even your actual job. This could be changing or something new could be beginning here, okay? But this is ultimately all about making something, quote unquote, better in your life, improving, making more whole. This is about serving and healing and dedicating yourself to your own divinity as you walk on this 3D earthly plane. Now, this solar eclipse is at a balancing point because it's occurring at the spring equinox for us in the southern hemisphere. So this is also a tipping of the scales. Now, you must put your intent into it to determine which side tips, okay? This could be to rebalance yourself or to get some impetus around something in your favor. Now, this new moon in Virgo is the second Virgo lunation of Virgo season. So it therefore can be called a blue moon, but I'm not calling it that because it confuses people. So for the next 18-ish months, because of this very new moon solar eclipse at the equinox, this massive, poignant point of time. Because of this, the entire lunar cycle will go backwards in reverse. So instead of within a sun season starting at the beginning of the lunation cycle with the new moon to go into the full moon, we will be beginning at the middle of the lunar cycle. We will have a full moon first, and then we will have a new moon within that sun season cycle. So from this period onwards, we will be in the energies of propulsion, of lessons first, integration later. This is coinciding with the ultimate shifts of those outer planets into their new signs next year, as well as many significant outer planet aspects. Next year will be on fast forward, and this new moon solar eclipse in Virgo is the opportunity to set an intention of how Virgo practically you are going to be dealing with all of this momentum that's going to be incoming in a beneficial, optimal, healthy, grounded way. That's all I'm going to say about that new moon until my forecast, okay? Just remember that that new moon solar eclipse in Virgo, it's on the 22nd of September, and it is going to oppose Saturn retrograde in Pisces. So the illusions will no longer be holding space in your reality. You will have the will and the power to decide how this plays out for you and how your daily reality is going to look from now on. Okay, now that's all I'm going to be saying about that new moon solar eclipse. On to the last point. Just before the equinox, on the day of that solar eclipse, we will have Mars entering Scorpio. Now, Mars and Pluto co-rule this sign. So Mars is happy here. This is the energy of being driven from a place of deep passion. This is the pressure that turns into the fuel for you to use to move forward. So this can be a very useful ingress on the day of this new moon solar eclipse. But again, anything that you're choosing to take concrete steps in is going to end up winding up in results that are very unexpected. Not positive or negative, just unexpected. But this is a wonderful energy for really lighting up your passions and being driven to go for what you want to go for, okay? This is about being intent on your goals. This is determination, even to the point of ruthlessness sometimes. So this is drive, this is passion, this is even sexuality. And guess what this wakes up again? Yep, those outer planets. Mars will now be quincunx, the Uranus-Sedna conjunction in Gemini, quincunx, that Neptune-Saturn, making another yod, and he will also be squaring Pluto in Aquarius, which is not going to perfect until a day into Libra season. But this is about the creative focus of your drives, goals, desires, and instincts to do, be, go, needing to blend with that higher personal vision with Neptune in Aries, with that realistic assessment of those dreams with Saturn in Pisces, and also with that Pluto square, which I'm going to cover more in my Libra season forecast. There are issues of power and control really coming into play in the lead up to this square. So this is really about needing to focus on how your drive is channeling in a way that is bringing all of these higher goals, aspirations, and new life steps into your reality, okay? And just be aware that from about the 21st till the 25th of September, there could be some conflict, power and manipulation issues, toxicity coming out. And this Mars in Scorpio is very, very powerful. But Pluto is still stronger, and Pluto is in a square to Mars. Well, actually, it's the other way around. Mars makes the square to Pluto. So there will probably have to be some kind of mediation in terms of knowing who has the real power, who deserves the real power. But because I've been talking for too long now, I'm going to cover that square in my next forecast because it will be perfecting in Libra season. So for now, thank you so very much for listening. If you made it all the way to the end, I hope this has given you guidance and support or at least something of interest. Don't forget to share my work with others if you think it will benefit them, because my aim is to spread the amazingness of astrology to help as many people as possible. I hope you enjoy the remainder of Virgo season, and I'll see you in my next forecast for the new moon solar eclipse in Virgo on the equinox. It's going to be big. So take care, love and blessings, and bye for now.